Guys, I'm here with two very special people over here that came down all the way from.
Well, he came from Tom's River.
Yeah,
right
I
next
live
to
over
you.
here.
Oh, it's
Not a long commute.
Oh, it's
My
not.
office is right here in Lakewood. I'm part of
Okay,
the-
amazing. Oh, here's
Yeah.
David. He actually coordinated this whole meeting today. So, David, can you introduce these two special people to the community?
So this is Frank and John. Both are external affairs guys for JCP&L, the electric company, provides electric to our area. And the last few weeks we were hit with many power outages, and I was frustrated, and so were all my neighbors and friends. And so I called my good friend Frank and asked them if they would come out to the community. He brought his friend John that does the Ocean County affairs for JCP&L to explain for our
Exactly. I can tell you, especially me, I'm in the real estate industry. I brought a lot of people from the city, and they're not used to these blackouts, and they always call me like, this is the reason why I moved here, to have this blackout, especially this year when it's more often. I don't know what the reason is, but I'm sure they have explanation for that. But so this is the reason why we came and tried to explain to the community exactly. So tell us what's the real reason why this year we have, like, thank God it's not long. I'm not talking about days without electricity, but I'm talking about short power outages here and there. And it's also a little bit frustrating. Instead, it's sometimes the middle of the day and it's no air conditioning, no cooking. And the ovens don't work properly, and reset the clock every
I'm well
time.
aware.
and appliances.
I missed
Well aware.
I missed a few of my meetings already because my alarm clock didn't wake me up in the morning
You
almost.
got to be up before the alarm clock.
Gotta charge your phone.
And look, I think David touched on something that was really important. And I'm Frank Luna, and this is John Meehan. And when David called and said there were concerns in the community, it's really important to JCP&L and us personally that we're responsive to folks who have concerns. And I think that's why John and I wanted to come by, also to get some nice gelato. you can always get us out when you offer a meeting at a gelato place. So
That does help.
John will chop into some of the recent Lakewood outages, and we'll move
So let's hear.
Yeah.
What's the reason why this year is it more than any other years?
So this year specifically, in the month of July, we've been experiencing some severe weather, just rolling through the region, either daily or every other day. Just last night, right, we had a tornado warning right for our area, and watching the radars coming right at us. We've had lightning storms a few times a week, and we've had, although the wind hasn't been as bad, and that's a typical cause for power outages is wind. Tree-related outages are predominantly the cause of the outages.
Overwhelming.
Yeah. It's and we've come a long way with the tree trimming in the last
Johnny,
few years.
Touch on the transmission issues
Yeah.
that we had most recently that impacted Lakewood and Tom's River area.
So the largest outage we had last week, 2 weeks ago, in Lakewood here, where we had thousands of people out at one time. And when you see an outage where you see 100 people, that's one thing. When you see an outage go 1,200, 1,500, 1,800, 5,000 people, it's almost all either substation or transmission related, right? So we're talking about the bulk power, not the lines in front of your home in a residential area. We're talking about the high tension, right? The lines, the transmission lines in a cleared field. If we take a lightning strike on there or something that creates a voltage issue and we have a trip on that, and a trip is where the breaker opens, no different than at home. You have a power strip on your computer or TV.
Yeah.
If there's a voltage irregularity, it opens that to protect the equipment. Our transmission breakers do exactly the same. So if we sustain a
Just on a
direct
bigger
hit,
scale.
just on a much bigger scale, right?
Oh, yeah.
And if we have a trip and that breaker opens, well, everything downstream of there is out of power.
So I
unless we
assume
have
there's two reasons why they can trip, or it's like a tree fell down
a fault.
nearby,
It's a fault either way. So
or it's from a lightning strike.
Wind,
Exactly,
trees,
yeah.
lightning.
So it could-
animal contact has been an issue.
Big one.
You would never think about that.
It's not
So
as
what
much as
happens from
transmission.
when the power outages? What would you recommend people to do the first thing?
Always call. Always report the outage, even if your neighbor reported it. We get that a lot. Somebody says, my neighbor across the street reported it, so I don't have to.
Only one time.
Make sure you report
Yeah.
it once. 'Cause
Once and only
yeah.
once. When you report the same outage multiple times, it creates a second order, and those orders then have to be cleaned up and canceled. And unfortunately, sometimes the original order could be canceled. It just adds confusion during a time where we are all working on the restoration. So, to help us to get the power back on, call it in immediately. And don't continue to call it in. You can check our website through your phone or smartphone. Or
Yeah, I see. Usually you say like an approximate time when it's going to be turned on.
Estimated time of restoration.
And we're working on that. Right? Estimated time of restoration, as Frank just said, we call an ETR. We're working extensively on being able to provide more accurate ETRs, what we call a user ETR.
So what happens a little bit behind the scenes? As soon as the customers are calling, the people that don't have outages call in, you rather send down a crew to that specific area which you think that the trip, then you just have a crew.
We start patrolling, right? So
usually, sometimes it takes 2 hours. Sometimes it can take overnight.
Well, it depends on what the issue is, right? So let's say, for instance, in the storms we've had a lot of outages, and they were larger number of outages, but the duration hasn't been as bad. I think you touched on that, and that's because we've experienced a lot of trips. So in a trip, there could be one repair, if a repair. And just patrolling it, making sure everything's good before you heat it back up and close
but
it.
But if it involves a tree fall or whatever, that's
so
when it becomes more complicated.
It becomes very complicated, especially when you add wind, right? When we have a wind event along with the lightning, we have trees coming down, taking poles down, multiple poles down. Well, you can have a pole come down, it could be affecting 100 customers or 100 homes, say, and it could take us 4, 6, 8 hours depending on the conditions.
So you really go down and you have to pick up the pole and pick up.
Sometimes we can't even get our workers up in the air in a truck if the wind is 35 miles an hour or higher.
What happens if it's happening at 1 o'clock at night? You have crews all night, all day? Wow.
Yeah, we'll call more crews in for that. There's a called out process.
So you have people working 24 hours a day.
Well, yeah, they're on
Christmas.
Call. Yep.
I mean,
Christmas.
for us, Christmas last year was.
So it's definitely something that you are on top of it and trying to do everything to make sure that to be restored as soon as possible.
So imagine this: so you're in real estate, right?
Yeah.
So our business is electric utility. We don't generate; we just distribute, right? So we deliver the energy. During a power outage, when you have thousands of residents out, especially during the summer months where the usage is high, air conditioning and such, when you have a percentage of your market share no longer using your product because there's an outage, it's in your best interest to get that power back on as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
So it's not just, it's obviously something we want to do to get everybody back in. There's safety issues concerned, there's traffic lights that are out there, people with medical
general
needs.
welfare, health and happiness.
But we often get comments from people, and I know they're just venting, but they'll say something to the effect of, well, you guys are just a big electric company, you really don't care about the people, you don't care if our power comes back on.
I mean, it doesn't look
that's like saying you don't care about selling homes,
Exactly.
right? You do, and that's why you put as much effort into it.
Exactly.
This is what you do.
I mean, you came down all the way here to Lakewood to show us.
Well, that's good. If David asks us to go somewhere, he's a buddy of ours, so we gotta make sure we. But and that's important to the company. It's very important to our company that customers throughout the entire region feel that we're responsive, and coming down and sitting and talking with you guys is going to reach thousands of folks and let them know, like, hey, we're here, we're in the community, we care about the concerns, we want to keep people's power on. David and I and John.
Now, let me ask you a question. It's probably, I know the answer, but maybe you can explain it better. Why in the city you don't see that much power outages?
How many trees you have in Brooklyn?
Oh, okay.
The wires are underneath.
The wires, also because the wires are underneath. So why, maybe you should start doing that, putting the wires underneath.
There have been studies on this, and there's a massive cost to underground.
I mean, most new developments that I sell
All new
do.
developments. That's state law. It's been like that for decades. So any new development, underground, but it's still being fed overhead. Right? So you can't say, well, hey, we're an underground development, so we don't have to worry about windstorms.
David, actually, we shouldn't put it underground. We need it for the area, no?
But think about this. In Brooklyn, you have how many mileage of lines of wires do you have for how many people? Over here, you're talking about a much greater area and less
densely
people.
populated
It's much less densely populated over here than in Brooklyn. So over there, it pays to do it underground.
Plus you deal with a couple of power outages here because you're at the Jersey Shore. You get a beach.
And maybe, John, can you touch on the comparison of why this year was more than say, like you had a comparison with North Jersey in 2018, I believe.
Yeah, July is tough. July is it is hurricane season officially, but typically we don't see hurricanes this time of year. They're just these severe thunder, lightning, wind storms. and it's continuous. July in New Jersey is about as close to Florida as you're going to get. It's going to rain just about every day for a little while. At least
What's
the
this
threat
year? This
of
year
rain.
was a heavier
Heavier.
season.
Here, I'm sure if you do a study throughout the entire state, the averages, it may be the same. But where we are, this is where we're getting hit with these lightning storms. More so in central than up in North Jersey. It's just the cycle.
And then a few years ago was just the opposite.
Just the opposite. You just
Can't control the weather.
can't control the weather. If we could, I would pick a day like this.
I hear if anybody can, it's Ephraim. I hear.
That's why we came. We were told you guys could control the weather, but
And the gelato.
and the gelato. Right. We're involved with the community. We're embedded in the community, right? And you could say, I've been here in Lakewood for 6 years since I started with the company. My office is right here in Lakewood. It's there's a learning curve within the electric utility and also within the communities that we have. For instance, if you serve a community like I do here in Lakewood, and also serve one of, let's say, a shore community in Monmouth County, there's a vast difference in everything, right? Equipment, the amount of people we have, how we serve, where the lines are. There's quite a bit involved. So you have to have an intimate knowledge of not just your community, but the people in the community.
All right, guys. It was a pleasure meeting you, and I'm really thankful for